Yo, 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 what it do? It's your boy, Johnny Main, my brother, Nick Wilcox. And we're here tonight to chop it up with y'all because it's already here, man. It's week one, and we're trying to make sure you ain't got like 3 quarterbacks or 2 defenses or 3 or 4 tight ends. If you do, cut it off like baby fat back in 1999, and we're here to help you get a win in week one. Let's do it.
Or you drafted Jarvis Landry.
Oh my God!
Go Lord.
One time, man.
Lord. We're here to help you guys not make mistakes here. Minimize mistakes as much as possible. So without further ado, the Fantasy Football Show, Waiver Wire, Week 1 pickups, our favorite stashes, as well as any questions you guys got for the upcoming Week 1 matchups that kicks off Thursday night.
It's here, man. It's here.
Ooh,
it's here.
Ooh, the season.
Yeah.
It's here, folks. It is so here. We are so back, Johnny. We are so back. How you feeling? How you feeling about your squads? How you feeling rolling into week 1?
Going into week 1, man, I'm feeling good. I like all my teams I drafted, with the exception of my Fans Classic team, which I kind of hate. But other than that, like the rest of my teams, I feel really good about. That's the only team I really don't like, and that'll probably be the team that does the best because Breece Hall will probably show up and show out because everybody's written them off. But other than that, other than that, man, like I feel good, man. I feel good. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for DFS. Gonna throw down a couple futures bets, and I'm gonna keep running receipts this year, man. That's one of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep running receipts on how things go for me and my teams, and how things go for me and my my betting and DFS. So I'm excited, man. What about you?
Oh yeah, bro. I would say, look, I'm definitely just so excited to watch some football. Like college football was over the past week. I was like, it was kind of mid. I ain't gonna lie. So I'm ready for some NFL football. We should have a good matchup Thursday. As far as the season goes, I'm rolling into week 1. Feeling pretty confident about where I stand on certain players. There's still some time to change a few tweaks on who, what it is. So without further ado, I'm going to have my guys, my roster, my guys listed on X tomorrow. So definitely check that out. Also, we'll be writing for tight ends, so streamers and sleepers on Fantrax. Check that out when it drops. So holla at your boy. But again, any questions you guys got in general, we here for you. We got Haywood, #1 fan. Put them ones up in the chat, Definitely excited for the fantasy football season. It's not gonna see well Saturday night. I mean, I don't blame you. It's definitely here. I mean, I'm not gonna sleep well tomorrow night.
Shoot, man, I remember last year, man. I'm pretty sure I didn't go to bed till like 2:00 in the morning and got up at 4:00 in the morning. I was, yeah. So that's I'm with you, man.
Season.
Yeah,
sleep deprivation is upon us.
That's it. We're here, man. We're here.
But the Fantasy Football Show, week 1, we got the pickups. We have the favorite stashes. We got y'all questions when y'all got them. So we're here for you. We're ready to rock and roll. Gonna report some news. There's not as much information in terms of I would say priority information. I will say that there's some updates on injuries and stuff like that. I'll give updates on Stafford looking okay. With the back injury, according to Rams camp. So he's going to be officially playing week 1. I don't think there was any doubt in a sense about that because there wasn't any what would you say? There wasn't any pure doubt that he was going to start week 1. So obviously,
Matthew Stafford is tougher than a $2 steak, to quote Jim Ross, baby.
Yeah, I love that. But yeah, Matt Stafford overall going to be expected to start week 1. Back seems to be okay. Same thing with AJ Brown. Hamstring seems to be fine. It's not any injury report, according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network. Obviously, they were, again, managing his injuries as well. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is just, casual updates. One of the big things was the Judkins thing. Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain dealer basically saying that, Judkins remains unsigned. The team's hopeful that he'll be back in the facility, hopefully at least before week 1. But honestly, I don't expect that to happen because look, the way things have gone, like we're not expecting Judkins to be back into the building anytime soon. I don't think. At least I'd be a little surprised if he wasn't back in the building before week 4. But again, these things with the rookie, at least the news is that Judkins wasn't going to go back to the college ranks because there was talk about that too, which I thought was maybe just weird, but at the same time, like, hey, it could happen. Jaden Reed, the Jones fracture that we got an update about. He participated in practice the other day. And again, he's supposed to be playing through that Jones fracture. But again, with that news, Jaden Reed was on my short list of guys that I liked. But now with this Jones fracture thing, I've seen him drop in drafts, and I kind of still didn't want him. So I like Jaden Reed, but it's like that Jones fracture. If he's going to play through it all season, just reminds me of the Debo situation where he was getting nicked up constantly, dealing with all this type of stuff, and it's a shame, So I want to see it before I keep on grabbing a few more shares of him across the board. But I am a little nervous about that whole situation. And I've been shying away from Jaden Reed for the moment. That could change because I have the right to change my opinion with new information. But until then, we'll see what happens. Still like Jaden Reed in general, but not as much as I used to. But again, pretty much, no other real news updates. Like, again, some depth charts that were out. Jalen Warren of the Steelers is going to be the featured runner. According to PlaneLive.com, Nick Farabor. I think it's Farabor.
He tweets out a lot of stuff. He's pretty active, like as far as like Steelers information and stuff. And I think like the 2-year contract, obviously, we've seen that happen this I don't know when it was it Saturday or Sunday? Was this weekend we've seen that happen. So I think like nothing, I don't think it really changes a lot of things. I know Caleb Johnson, he was somebody like I really kind of switched all the shares I had of him to RJ Harvey shares is really what I did. Very early on in the offseason, I was aggressively going after him, but that's obviously not the case anymore. And Jalen Warren is now, I would say he's a value for where he's been going around 7, 8, 9 in a lot of 12-team drafts, and obviously gives you a little PPR upside. So if you go 0 RB, or even if you go hero RB and you got 2 running backs, you got to start. Like, he's a nice play for sure. But I will be interested to see how this all shakes out. And, is this a situation where, the Steelers are already feeling cooked with this Caleb Johnson pick already, man? It's getting ready to be an interesting one, man, in that locker room for sure. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that Caleb Johnson couldn't make more noise over the offseason. But for our season-long leagues, that's a good thing because people will probably be ready to get rid of him quicker than they would if, let's just say he had a Henderson type of offseason where he was getting steamed up a board from where he was. So, yeah, there was that. As far as Judkins goes, what Haywood was saying, he could be in the facility this week. Even if he is, like, he's not gonna get any reps or anything like that. We're not. Again, we told you guys all off season. You know what I'm saying? It was all off season that it was Dylan Sampson time. You know what I'm saying? It was Dylan Sampson. He was a capable workhorse running back coming out of UT, and he was overall a guy that was entrusted with a full workload. So again, like, I know Jerome Ford's also hanging in, the shadows and stuff like that. So it may not, Dylan Sampson may not get the lion's share of the split backfield of week 1, but we told everyone it was Sampson. We still see Sampson still going really late, still see him going like 13th round, 14th round, where Krosky Mara is getting shooting up the board still. We'll get to that, by the way. We'll get to that. Shout out to Joe, because he is a part of the GOATs. You are one of our GOATs, bro. So we appreciate you for sure. But yeah, like, and then Haywood talking about DFS. I was on the World Championships last year, but only. Okay, Haywood. talk your shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I like it.
All right.
Got a little phenom in the chat. Okay. All right. But yeah, as far as other news and notes, none of it really. Just again, depth charts are going to be very fleeting for week 1. Let's just put that out there. The most important thing we could tell you when it comes to like depth charts and stuff like that is coach speak and stuff like that is going to be varying and whatnot too. So again, don't always pay attention to the depth chart though. Use it as a tool, but not something you should use your overall opinion on. Because again, long season, and we're going to tell you guys as well for some tips and tricks on how to maneuver not only waiver wire, but also think in terms of how you should be deploying that strategy over time. So again, we're going to go into the quarterbacks for pickups in terms of where we're seeing. We use varying ADPs, mainly using sleeper. Most of these guys should be available. If not, that's whatever. We'll also give you later on our favorite stashes. So that will include some players that could be on rosters, could be not, could be guys that you should be trading for. So again, like that is where, again, the favorite stashes will be guys that we've either talked about throughout the whole offseason or guys that, we're seeing on it, not enough waiver wire teams, and we should tell you guys to go pick up. So Johnny's going to talk about his first guy because he's been talking about him a good amount of offseason as well, as have I, but he's been more louder. So, Johnny, talk about Cam Ward?
Yeah. Cam Ward, quarterback for Tennessee Titans. Not really a lot to say other than the fact that Tennessee Titans last year, again, man, one of the worst offenses in the NFL, probably had one of the worst quarterback rooms in the league. 195 yards passing per game is what they were averaging last year. Cam Ward, I think this is a guy that if for whatever reason you miss out on quarterbacks or you just, are in a 12, 14 team league with sharper people, whatever the case may be, this is your guy. Like, this is your guy right here. Probably, again, like we'll say it, like the most non-talked about number 1 overall pick in quite some time. Their head coach comes from Cincinnati. He comes from Cincinnati, and I think actually I'd seen something today that said he's looking to try to recreate what Joe Burrow did in his rookie year. And, hey, man, he's a number 1 overall pick and just kind of got me thinking to a lot of the number 1 overall picks that have been here recently as far as the quarterback position goes. Not the first quarterback taken, but number 1 overall QBs. We haven't had too many flops in that spot. We're waiting for Bryce Young, obviously, to bounce back here at some point in time over the next season or two. But come from good stock, man. Come from good stock. I like what they've got going on. I think today I'm going to butcher his name, Eric.
Amenora.
Eric Amenora has been popped up to be the starter opposite of Calvin
Where's
Ridley.
the Amor?
Either way, the rookie from Stanford, I believe he's been popped up to be the starter now, opposite of Calvin Ridley, which he looked really good during the preseason. So I'm really excited to see this Tennessee Titan offense for sure. And again, I'll say it again, they play against two of the worst secondaries in the NFL from last season with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm excited from that aspect of things. And then you have the other part of that equation as well is you get 2 dome games as well. So I know like we haven't talked a lot about that, but those are just things like, right, like you got to be thinking about from like a weather perspective. Yep. Tennessee's a pretty nice place. So very rarely do you get like really bad weather as far as snow. You might get a little bit of rain there. So that's another piece of it as well. And you can't really sleep on Cam Ward. He might give you a little something. He might give you a little scoop of mashed potatoes in the rushing game. You know what I mean? But other than that right there, like I said, like Cam Ward's a guy that, and especially if you're playing in super flex leagues. If you're playing in super flex leagues, Cam Ward, to me, man, he's a great QB too. And, I've said it. We've seen it over the last handful of years with rookie quarterbacks, whether they've been number 1 overall or whether they've just been higher picks. They've been very fantasy relevant. You can just kind of look backwards at Bo Nix. You can look backwards at CJ Stroud. You can take a look at a couple of those guys like that right there. And the quarterback class this year is not It's not very deep. So Cam Ward's the guy for me as far as guys that could be and should be picked up off your waiver wire. I like him. Oh, we got one. Here we go. Ward, Penix, T-Law, Fields, Williams, Goff. Well, you already know I'm going. This is just off the cuff right now. I'm going to go straight up. I'm going to go Caleb Williams right off the cuff for sure. Then I would go Jared Goff for safety. I would go Trevor Lawrence just because I don't want to be completely wrong on him, and I think there is something that could be there. Then I'll go Michael Penix. I forgot Phil. Sorry. Geez, let me go backwards. Caleb Williams. Give me Justin Fields. Give me Jared Goff. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Give me Michael Penix. Give me Cam Ward.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, I missed that on Fields. On Fields. Like, you can't, you can't not have Fields in the top 3 of this group.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
I'm questioning out of this group, is he number 1, Fields? But I'll give the nod to Caleb Williams here for the QB1 in this group, just because I wanted to obviously see it, obviously too. But I do think that everything is aligning to where Caleb Williams, if he fails in this spot, he is no one else to field but himself, which I don't envision happening. I'm just saying in general, like, there's pieces around him, like offensively, out of all these quarterbacks that makes him like, all right, it's on you, bro. So yeah, Williams 1, I'd say Fields 2, I'd say Penix 3. I do think there's like some untapped potential here where, again, we saw last year with Kirk Cousins, like, it was clicking, but it wasn't clicking. And when Penix came in, he was getting London the ball. He was getting, even Kyle Pitts to a certain degree the ball. So he's my QB3 here. Cam Ward, my QB4, T-Law's 5th, and that just makes Golf last. And it's just only because I think Golf still obviously has potential, but it's more like in fantasy, like, you just want to have options to where, quarterbacks can still run this, then the third, like da-da-da. I mean, if you want to flip around a couple of guys, sure, but I would say, look, I do think Penix can find this. He's like one of those untapped guys that we don't talk about enough, and probably should have made the list if he's out there as a QB2, because Atlanta has one of the easier schedules upcoming for the season, and we loved Penix coming out of Washington when in the college football championship 2 years prior. So again, I think Penix deserves a little love, and more love from me because I haven't been touting him as much. But yeah, good question. Anything else to wrap up Cam Ward here?
Nah, man. Listen, just don't be no sucker, man. Go get Cam Ward. If he's out there. Again, got two of the easiest defenses in the NFL from last season to go against. So Cam Ward, QB2 super flex backup quarterback. I'm all in.
I'm going to go a little deeper. This guy is available in about 26% of sleeper leagues at the moment. He's someone that, again, if your leagues have been a bit more QB heavy, people have been taking their backups left and right and whatnot. This is one of the guys on the waiver wire left that still has some solid, floor in terms of running the football, and that's Bryce Young. Bryce Young, we talked about him before, and we're going to talk about him one more time, because I do think that in a world where Carolina is getting their offense better, Canales has always transformed quarterbacks wherever he's gone. And I don't think there's going to be any difference. So I do think that Bryce Young deserves more love. But I totally get it, because quarterback, when it comes to your shallower, like 10 teams and then, 12 teams, there's still, a plethora of quarterbacks still available in these waiver wires. So understand this, like, these are some guys that are more for either sometimes QB2 or super flexes as well. But again, like, always ask questions when it comes to the waiver wires, because every waiver wire in every league is going to vary depending on who it is. But again, Bryce Young, he overall, again, like, we're talking about a guy during your overall, last about 4 games of the season, Bryce Young had 8 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, averaged 23 fantasy points per game. And if you were hurting at quarterback late in the year and you started him, you were looking like a smart person. So I like Carolina's situation because they're going to give every opportunity for Bryce Young to succeed. And again, another situation that just falls on him. I think that the nucleus of Carolina is starting to grow a little bit. It's just that defense that absolutely sucks. So hopefully that turns around a little bit for them as well. But I do think Carolina could be one of those little dark horse teams-ish that comes around. You're like, ooh, they easily cleared their win total from Vegas. What else can they do? So I think Bryce Young's in position to overall help your teams in general. It's just a matter of how deep your QB waiver wire is. To running backs, because we got a few of them for sure, varying depending on the league. And we will start with the very muddy situation in Houston. Because there are a bunch of guys there that you're like, oof. Take us away, Johnny.
Yeah. So we got the Houston Texans backfield situation. And maybe you drafted Nick Chubb. Maybe you did. And that's okay, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, depending on where you got him. But for me, I'm just waiting a little bit later on. I'm waiting a little bit later on for Dameon Pierce, and I'm waiting a little bit for Woody Marks. Whichever one I don't get, I'm drafting the other one in later rounds because there is a world where one of these guys could pop. There's also a world where it could be Darie Ogumulube. It could be. There's 4 running backs. There's 4 running backs that are there, but I think Dameon Pierce is not too far removed from being a top round 5, round 6 pick 2 years ago before Devin Singletary snatched the bag from him. But if you go back and you look last year, whenever they did go power scheme last year, Dameon Pierce did not look too bad. He didn't look too bad. And I think that's what they want to get back to. At least that's all indications that they want to get back to. I know there was there was some issues with the offensive coordinator there. Was it Bobby Skolik? I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Bobby Skolik. There was some issues there. Slowick. There was some issues there with him and D'Amico Ryan. So I think getting back to that, and then you've seen Woody Marks during the preseason. Like, Woody Marks is. He's found the end zone a couple of times. He's made his mark. And I think that's one of the things you got to look for, right? Especially with rookie running backs. Unlike Caleb Johnson, Woody Marks is he's made a couple of marks, no pun intended, for the Houston Texans. And I think, too, just as far as his explosiveness, you see what that is. The coaches have been raving about Dameon Pierce, and he's damn near free in every league that I've drafted in over the last week and a half. And there's a couple times where I have taken Woody Marks and I haven't taken Dameon Pierce. And if someone beat me to the punch on Marks, and I have taken Dameon Pierce, but sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it's just a scheme change, right? That's all it is. And God only knows when Joe Mixon, if or when he'll be back. There's a lot of ambiguity around if and when he does come back. And like, this is the time, man, right? Not to take the spotlight off of these 2 guys that we're talking about here, but CJ Stroud and that offense, man, is going to be they're going to have to throw it. And if they can find some kind of a balance between one of these backs, not named Nick Chubb or with Nick Chubb, that's some good value again, like at that running back 2 spot, right? Because I think running back 2 or the flex spot, because your top 24 running backs are pretty much entrenched. Like, we know who the top 20 to 24 running backs are. We know what it looks like, right? So really, like, the difference maker is going to be like the hidden gems that happen after running back 24. Those are your league winners here. And if you tell me that, like, hey, I got a chance to take one of these 2 guys here and just pick them up off of an ad, or if I got a chance to pick them up maybe in round 16 or 17 of your local home draft, if you haven't already had it, for a potential home run, sign me up for it for sure, man. Maybe Dameon Pierce can get off of my blacklist, because after 2 years ago, where I took him in I literally took him in every single league, right? And like we've talked about it, right? Like, sometimes it's good to be a little bit early versus a little bit late. So maybe for all of us Dameon Pierce truthers out there, maybe we were just a little bit too early. So maybe we can circle back around and get him for pennies on the dollar this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that at all. Like you were saying, these are guys that are going last 2 rounds of your draft, or they're just on your waiver wires right now. So
Probably
I don't mind taking
there,
either shot. I don't mind taking either shot on those guys. I think Marks would probably be the one that would probably be a little bit more owned at the moment. But even him, it's like he was someone I was definitely like keying in on once we heard the mix and stuff. You don't just go and trade up for a running back in the draft unless you have a plan for him. So I do think like I don't mind Dameon Pierce. I was always like in the middle of the Dameon Pierce stuff. It was like I had him in a couple of leagues that year, but it wasn't like like an unsurmountable amount. But again, with Woody Marks, I think that USC tape, like I just liked how he was a nice, scat back. Like you don't have to use him in between the tackles as much. Can he be developed into a three down, running back? Probably not. But again, people said the same thing about Kyle Williams. In terms of like, he's small, coming out of Notre Dame and so I think that, Woody Marks could be someone that's interesting, especially if he beats out Dario Ogunbowale for, the overall receiving down work. So that could get interesting because, again, based on projection of where we see Houston, like they could easily be an offense that, again, passes every single time because that offensive line is not open up any holes for the run game. And then, again, from a game flow perspective, like Houston's got to keep on chucking. So Woody Marks should get there a little bit more. But I think both of these guys, because of where you get them, are either on the waiver wire or just on, you're able to still get them like the second to last round. Or
nobody's drafting like unless you were like there with a bunch of just flat out dogs. Nobody's drafting.
You're a really deep league.
Yeah, nobody's drafting Dameon Pierce unless you got a bunch of dogs. It's a deep league, and they were they were right in the middle of the pack last year as far as running the football was the Texans, and we've seen it last year, with the Mixon injury. We're at that time. We're at that time where, again, it's all about value, and I'll continue to say that because it's the same thing. The value there for either one of these guys is there because no matter what, right? And Dameon Pierce, I believe he had a little bit of an opportunity in the passing game as well. So Woody Marks, he's probably him or Darie are going to be your third down, your passing back. So it's really just a situation to monitor. But it's something that if you have the opportunity to, or you're just looking around, or one of your guys is hurt or something like that right there, just throw a flag, man. Throw a dart and go out there and take a chance on one of these guys here.
Totally. Definitely agree with just the logic of it all. So you guys take a shot somewhere. Next guy, speaking of taking shots, available at 15% right now in sleeper leagues, where he was technically, but not really, hasn't been talked about a lot. Chris Rodriguez, the Washington Commanders. And this is something where my own personal advice for you all tonight right now is the Washington situation. I really don't want any parts of it at the moment. It is a situation that is, we want to take shots on, right? You know what I'm saying? We want to take a shot on this, ambiguous backfield, right? Because, again, that's what we should be doing. My overall thing is that if I'm going to take a shot, it will either be on Austin Eckler or, of course, the guy I've been talking about all summer, Deebo Samuel. But in terms of the running back situation, I'm not exactly out on Bill. He just keeps on going earlier and earlier some of these drafts, and I'm just kind of getting nervous for people that are taking him that early because, in a way, we talked about with Rich last week. We missed the boat on that. It's like you missed the boat on Krosky Murray when he was going, last round or a couple, late rounds or whatever. Now his opportunity and draft cost is starting to go up and up and up, and you're like, you got to start asking yourself the question, should I be doing this? So that's where again, I don't mind Krosky Murray. I'm not here to hate on him. I just think that overall it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know about Chris Rodriguez. So, Bill Krosky-Merritt. So, but Chris Rodriguez, right? 5'11" kid out of Kentucky. And, I think Washington likes him. The reason why he's around still is the reason why Jim McNichols is still around too. So again, like it looks like Washington really wants some of these bruiser running backs. Like they weren't happy with Brian Robinson's run play style, where he wasn't hitting the hole hard enough. He wasn't as aggressive. So they want more bruising type of aggressive running backs. So again, this whole situation in Washington is varying. If you got Austin Eckler, that could be an interesting safe spot for overall how that is in terms of Washington's offense. But again, you still got Jane Daniels. They can still run the ball as well. And again, you got Wrinkles and Debo in there too. So it's just, I would just say it's a whole mess. But if you really, I wouldn't say if you're desperate, but if you like really want someone just to take a stab at, I think Chris Rodriguez can at least have an opportunity to at least be the thumper, the first or second down running back. And if you're in a deeper league, this is definitely something where I would just put him on my roster, see what happens. Best case scenario is that he becomes that role. Worst case scenario is that you just drop him and you look for somebody else that's, fresher, younger, and, the situation's better. So that's where, again, you got to understand when, you got to have a short-term, memory, not short-term memory, but you got to have a short-term, thinking on, okay, if I grab this guy now, if he doesn't do anything, should I drop him next week? Or, should I just wait it out a little bit? That's something also we'll go into. Any thoughts about the Washington running back situation in general, Johnny?
Chris Rodriguez and Austin Eckler, that would probably be where I would be leaning. I do have a couple shares of Bill. Actually, one. I got him in an auction league. Was just trying to fill out my roster, wide receiver heavy. I can't even remember who my actual bell cow running back is right off the rip, but pretty heavy at wide receiver and tight end. RJ Harvey. That's my running back in that league. So RJ Harvey and Bill. I don't need a lot from them with the receivers that I have, Trey McBride, Malik Neighbors, George Pickens. I can't remember who else. So again, man, I think it's just about the frame of your team and what you have going on. If you're drafting him to be your legit number 2 running back and you're looking for running back 2 numbers, it's a little bit aggressive. But with Chris Rodriguez, they liked him last year. You heard a lot about him, during the offseason. And even I think there were points in times last year where after Jeremy McNichols went down and B-Rob was kind of, floating around in his space where they, were using him and using a little bit of Eckler. So I'm not surprised for this right here. And that's the thing, right? Especially, if you're a little bit new to the game of fantasy or, you're just trying to beat some sharp people, that's the piece, right? It's I always like to have a thought process as far as running backs go. Is your third running back is one play or one trade or one injury away from now being somebody who's in a flex position. So that's why players like this right here are very critical. Players like Damian Pierce and Woody Marks, guys like that it's very critical to pay attention to those guys, and sometimes even just stashing them and hanging on to them just to see what happens is not a bad deal. So yeah, I'm cool with having some Chris Rodriguez in some flex situations.
Totally. One of the last running backs we'll get to, Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears is someone that 40% available on sleeper leagues. And double check if you could put him in your IR spot, because obviously he's starting off the year, high ankle sprain. You got put into I think it was either the PUP list or the non-performing football list, whatever. Obviously it'll be Tony Pollard's backfield for the moment. But if you have an IR spot in your league, this is where I'll be like, all right, maybe I can stash Tajay Spears, because Tennessee has talked about, at times ad nauseum about trying to get Tajay Spears more involved. He just can't stay healthy. So he's someone that, again, he's flashed, some things in the past. He's someone that, again, if you have an IR spot, you're probably worth doing it at this juncture. Especially for leagues that, if you have suspended players, you can't put them in that IR spot, whatever. But at least putting Spears in the IR spot and then going and grab somebody else. And just kind of seeing how it all unfolds. Because again, I think Tyjae Spears can find himself, being the, a 1B in Tennessee just to relieve some Pollard, and that could be useful later on in your leagues. He's just someone that, again, one of these guys that has some talents that overall, people are just obviously writing off already because he's obviously hurt right now. And then one other guy that I wanted to mention quickly was Keaton Mitchell. Because again, the Ravens situation, you obviously have Justice Hill, but overall, I would say that if you have a situation where someone can really benefit, it's Keaton Mitchell. This is the other guy that, we're 2 years removed from him averaging 8 yards per carry. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL that year. So that was later on in the year. So that's somewhat of a small sample size. But again, Keaton Mitchell's one of those guys that he started to look decent, starting to look like he was back to where he is during the preseason game, if you didn't watch some of that. And I think he really would benefit from a Henry injury. But he's someone that, again, he's still floating out there in some waiver wires. He's technically a stash player as well, but he's someone that I would like, if tomorrow something happened to Henry, who are they going to run after for the waiver wire? It's going to be Keaton Mitchell. So I don't want Henry trust me, I don't want Henry get injured. I'm just saying, I think Keaton Mitchell is someone that we do need to keep our eyes on, hopefully stashing. And if something were to happen that way, Keaton Mitchell in a Ravens offense that is a little bit more vertical now, that will check down a little bit more to these running backs, I could be definitely game for that for sure. Moving on to receivers. We have a couple of those for you. Receivers that we're talking about. First guy is one of from a real life football perspective and also a great human being is Adam Thielen of the former Carolina Panthers, now going back home, Minnesota Vikings, to the purple and white he goes back to. And Adam Thielen is one of those guys that, he's definitely more seasoned now, right? But here's the thing. I know they traded for him for a reason. I know that Carolina got some compensation for him. I also know that Adam Thielen can still play ball. And I do think he can easily be a nice veteran piece to slot right in, in case, there was definitely rumblings about Jalen Naylor potentially missing week 1. It looks like he's back more on track. But even so, no Jordan Addison for the first 3 games. So it will be Jay Jettis. It will be, it will be Naylor. It will be Thielen. It will be Hawkinson in terms of pecking order when it comes to receiving threats. So again, I think Adam Thielen is one of those guys that, he's just going to be on the waiver wire. No one's in a way, no one's not going to be as hyped to have Adam Thielen in your squads. But I tell you what, if you start seeing a overall routes run from Adam Thielen around 80 or something percent, and all of a sudden he comes onto the scene, 7 catches for 65 yards, that seems modest of a line, but hey, people will still be scrambling for Adam Thielen the next week. So that's just something for me where I'm well, he's definitely one of those guys that, he could definitely pop up and be all right, if he did, similar to when people are, I just find it in the similar vein, even though Thielen's a few years older, it's similar in the vein of Keelan Allen. They go back to a team that, has utilized them in the past, knows what their strengths are, knows what their weaknesses are, and, can easily exploit defenses by doing so. I just think you're getting a very, very, nicely discounted version of Keelan Allen and Adam Thielen.
No, I mean, I don't mind Adam Thielen at all. I think it'll be interesting to see how things shake out just as far as the pecking order goes, because like you mentioned, realistically, he's the third, maybe even the fourth receiving option, because one of the things, for as much as I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Jones, is from from a running back perspective, one of the things that he has been very nice and he has been very nice. Yeah, he has been very nice in the passing game. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't think it's a bad thing, right? For sure. And then I think also too, you have to think Is JJ McCarthy, is he going to be throwing the ball, 40, 45 times, or is it going to be some form of a balance?
I mean,
I don't know.
Micah Parsons, week 1.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I mean, so I don't know. I think maybe the first couple of weeks, maybe you might see something, and then the other part of this too is like he's not asked to go out and be the wide receiver number one, right? Like I think we all know like coverages Jay Jettis is going to dictate every single coverage no matter where he lines up, and we all know about KOC and what he's going to be able to do. So as far as schematic wise, so I think it's interesting, man. I think like if you're in a pinch, right, the first 3 weeks, I think this is a very nice flex play. Don't hate it, don't love it. I just think it's there. Yeah, it's kind of like it kind of reminds me of like high school cafeteria food. It's just there, it'll do the job.
I love that. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Want to talk about another receiver here?
Let's do it, man. Talk about Hunter Renfrow. Carolina Panthers cut him, bring him back. He had been out of the game. He was out of the game last year.
Sorry. He was asking about the Thielen, if he could be a flex spot during the season. Can KOC, do magic with the QBs in the passing game? I think honestly the window for that will probably be for the first few weeks of the season, because once Addison gets back, it'll get even more murkier.
Yeah. No. So Hunter Renfrow, like I like this a lot, for sure. Just because Adam Thielen is gone, Jalen Coker is Coke boys, they're gone. So now you're getting to a spot where I just find it really interesting. Like Xavier Legette, now if we're looking at things, he actually ran the second most. He actually had the second most targets last year from the slot. He had 24 catches there, and Hunter Renfrow, that's where he operates. That's where he cooks. He looked really good in the preseason there in the slot. So I'm really actually excited about this right here, because even just from a pecking order, right? Like if you look, it's Tet, it's Xavier, and then it's Hunter Renfrow. So if Bryce Young was able to make your list as a quarterback that you think has an opportunity to bounce back, I definitely think there's a space where Hunter Renfrow can get back, because last year, believe it or not, out of all the receivers that were on that team through injury, et cetera, whatever the case may be, two very interesting stats. We talked about Chuba Hubbard last week and how like he really didn't do a lot with what he had in the passing game. Well, 54 targets, 43 receptions for 171 yards and 1 touchdown. That equals nothing in the passing game. Third in routes ran for the team was David Moore. Yes, you heard that correct. David Moore. And I'm going to say it again in case the listeners didn't hear me or they don't know. David Moore, who did less with more. So, like, for me, when I look at this, like, I think this is a perfect opportunity for Hunter Renfrow. Like this, if there was one guy that I had to tell you tonight, like, you need to go get tonight from this show, Hunter Renfrow is the guy that you need to go get for sure. So I love the opportunity that presents itself for him. Especially with Coker being out, and obviously Thielen being gone and not coming back. I think you'll see Ted on the outside. You'll probably see Xavier Legette moved, play a little outside, play a little inside, because he did some work as well on the inside. So yeah, man, like give me Hunter Renfrow right now. Got fresh legs. And obviously he's a slot merchant, which especially in PPR formats, that's exactly what you're looking for. You can never have too many of those guys on your roster as far as PPR format goes. So I'm back, man. I'm back, and we back with Hunter Renfrow.
Totally. He's just one of those guys that just from a film and routes perspective, like he's just a technician. And, you want someone like that on your, real life NFL rosters. And you want someone like that on your fantasy squads that can easily be PPR scamming. And it can definitely help out a younger quarterback. And again, it just says, in terms from the financial bookings, it may not look like such a big deal because they didn't, keep, Hunter Renfrow for the final, roster. But they, literally traded and Thielen, and then they were like, we're You want to come back? So yeah, I mean, just, I'm glad that Hunter Renfrow is getting an opportunity to shine. Look forward to seeing him, hopefully do that for some of your squads in general. To the tight ends, because we gotta get to Chris Pearson over here.
Yeah, that's my girl. That's my girl back home, man. She's known me since I was knee high to a duck's tail for sure. So we definitely, if she's still listening, like
first
of all, Chris, if you're still listening, is it a PPR league? Let me know, what you got here, because I definitely want to make sure I'm answering your question. And
I hope you're not playing standard, yo. Come on.
Well, listen, the fact that she's even playing football, fantasy football, bro, is like there can be no shade thrown. Here. I will not stand for it. So, Chris, if you
no shade.
Yeah, if you listening, and you're still on here, yeah, definitely drop us. What kind of format and how many teams are in your league for sure, Chris. And appreciate you chiming in. Thanks for the love for sure.
Totally. As we wait for that, we're in the tight end section, and we're going to talk about your guy Dalton Schultz. Why should he be getting picked up?
Yeah, Dalton Schultz, just in his situation, he's a guy that is not being drafted a whole heck of a lot in 12-team leagues, right? Like, it's a onesie position. And obviously, if you get, one of the big, 4 or 5 guys, it kind of gets a little bit dicey after that. There's some guys that I do really enjoy outside of like the top 5 spot guys like Evan Ingram and Mark Andrews. Like, I think those guys are incredible values. But once you get past that, like, then you're looking at Dalton Schultz, right? Or guys like Dalton Schultz. I think Kyle Pitts is obviously always going to go based off of name recognition. Yeah. There's some other guys as well that I won't spoil that's on this list that also go again off of name recognition. But Dalton Schultz is one of the tight ends that seems to be kind of a forgotten man. And then when you look at what's going on with the Houston Texans, as just kind of talked about a little bit earlier, it's Nico Collins, and then you got a couple of rookies, and you got Christian Kirk too. I'll give you that. You got Christian Kirk on the outside or in the slot, I would say, really. You have those guys, but then you look at Dalton Schultz, right? And that's a guy that could really reap some of the benefits of this passing game for sure, because it may take some time to work these rookies into what I would call, I don't want to say playing shape, but the trust factor, right? Like, it's going to take some time because you got Nico, you got Christian Kirk. Dalton Schultz is a guy that could really benefit from that, right? And if you're telling me that, he's still out there floating around and you don't feel comfortable with your tight end position, right, or anything like that, like, hey, man, this is a guy right now, especially if you believe in the C.J. Stroud bounce back like I do, which is why, like, I have Nico Collins through the roof of it, and the fact that I love Nico Collins just as a player. But I think Dalton Schultz is a guy that, like, we could look back at the end of the season and go, man, like, what an incredible value is somebody that, like, wasn't drafted in 16 to 17 round leagues that could give you anywhere from tight end 12 to tight end 15, 16 production, right? Great guy, great bridge guy, right? Great streaming option for you at the tight end position for sure. And we already know, like, if tight end is anything like it was last year, it's going to be a complete wasteland. And, the dreaded 4 for 40, like, that sometimes that's good enough to get you, a tight end 8, tight end 9, right? So Dalton Schultz is a guy that, like, hey, if I take a Kyle Pitts, or if I take a Dalton Kincaid or a Dallas Goedert or any of those guys, right? If I take, like, one of these high, or even like some of the higher upside guys, right? Like a Colston Loveland, even like a Tyler Warren, right? Like, if you take any of those guys, this is just like a really good safe floor pick or add for you, just in case, because again, it could be a big thing overall. So yeah, so Dalton Schultz, like, I've got him in a couple of leagues, but like like I was mentioning earlier, man, like, you don't want to be hanging on to 3 tight ends or 3 quarterbacks. You're pushing it if you got 2 tight ends. So yeah, Dalton Schultz is a guy I'm definitely keeping an eye on, and I've gotten a few spaces.
Yeah, he's someone that I think I was getting a few shares of in best ball, just because we've seen the direction of Houston and how this could easily go. to the wayside in terms of how this offense can go, especially the offensive line, and where CJ Stroud is going to have to keep on fire in the football. So that's where, again, that Dalton Schultz definitely smart gameplay in terms of maneuvering the waiver wire, especially waiver wires that, are, a good amount of tight ends were already taken or whatever. But in terms of, just Dalton Schultz, he could definitely be one of those guys that pops into the top 8 all of a sudden. Because that's happened before with Dalton Schultz. Another guy that we've seen pop into the top 10s before, particularly last year, where it was like he kind of came out of nowhere in some ways. And my light went out. Woohoo!
I wouldn't say that Zach Ertz came out of nowhere, because the previous year, when he was with the Arizona Cardinals, before he got traded to Washington or left to Washington, he was ripping it up, man. I actually had him in a high stakes league, and he was producing. He wasn't going very far, but he was putting up production. So I wouldn't say that it came out of nowhere. I would just say that we just weren't expecting him to continue that type of production, because we weren't expecting anything really from the Washington Commanders. I shouldn't say we, but like vast majority of people weren't expecting a lot from the Commanders from the Commanders overall. So
they were not. Yeah, I have to rock with this non-lighting situation, I guess. Hey, people. Yeah, Zach Ertz for me, he's one of those guys that, again, gets drafted at a point in which, he either doesn't get drafted at all because there's just other sexier names that gets got, or he just finds himself on the waiver wires for the most part. So he's someone that, again, Washington's offense is still going to be an offense that, is going to be, behind Jaden Daniels. People might be calling a sophomore slump or something. But again, with Zach Ertz, he's going to be one of those tight ends that he's done it before. Anytime he plays, you're going to want to probably start him. Because he went off in both performances last year when he played the Eagles last year. And, he could, again, find himself as, one of those top tight ends again. And
revenge narrative, man. What are you talking about? That's a revenge game for him, bro.
Sure is.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah.
It sure is every time. But yeah, I think Zach Ertz is someone that is definitely criminally going underrated on the waiver wires. And he's someone that I would like to have if I'm drafting 2 tight ends, let me grab Zach Ertz at least to see how much juice he may have left. Because again, like he's going to be just another one of possession guys in Washington that's going to be able to stretch the field and give Jane Daniels another weapon. They create a lot of just rapport with one another later on last year. So definitely going to be Zach Ertz a little bit later on or off the waiver wire.
Dig that, man.
Last tight end we'll talk about is Chikakongwa, because he's someone that probably is waiver wire wise. I would say he off the cuff. I would say he's probably like borderline 50%, borderline.
I think you might be pushing it there, man.
I might be pushing it.
I think you're pushing it there. Like
I might be pushing it.
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that one right there in front.
No, so sleeper league is 29%.
Yeah,
29%. 29%. Wow. That's a little shocking for me because Chikakongwa, I feel like he's been talked about a lot in the same vein as Cam Ward and these Tennessee Titans. But yeah, Chikakongwa is one of those guys that, again, like, he was one of those guys that didn't jump off the paper right away until like after like week 11, where again he started putting up some performances where like, oh, okay, this guy has some athleticism. He can be utilize a weapon. He had a few top, tight end 7 performance, tight end 2 performance down the stretch of your fantasy playoffs last year, and again he gets an upgrade at QB with Cam Ward. And again, a Tennessee offense that can find themselves a sneaky little offense to target, especially, in terms of where we see fit. Because, again, outside of Calvin Ridley and Emmett Noor, like, Tyler Lockett too, like, but Chikakongwa could easily find themselves getting back to where he left off with last year. So that's where, again, I think sometimes he gets drafted, sometimes he doesn't. It's usually more in the sleeper leagues. the deeper leagues in general. So
I think Cam Ward, and you see what he did last year with Arroyo, who's now is playing for the Seattle Seahawks. Like that's what gives me hope. And then like you're talking about Chukwukankwo, 6'3", 250, going into year 4 for him for sure. I think this is a great opportunity for him. This is the best quarterback situation that he's had. And like again, like this passing offense has a lot to gain and a lot of traction that they can make up, right? From being one of the bottom 5 passing offenses in the NFL. With Will Levis last year and Mason Rudolph didn't get a whole heck of a lot. And then again, like with Tony Pollard in the run game. So I think it'll be interesting and it'll be fun to see how they utilize a guy like Chukwukankwo this season for the Tennessee Titans. So, all right. So then for everybody, man, we're moving on to some of our favorite stashes. And there's a ton of guys that we could spend a lot of time going over for sure as far as like some of our favorite stashes. Hunter Renfrow became one of those guys after he came back to the Carolina Panthers and all the movement that happened. But then there's other guys for me, like, and I'll just kind of, freestyle. There's guys like Romeo Dobbs that I've still been, I'm still going to say, hey, like, I'll take a shot on him for sure. Somebody who's had, he had almost a 20% target share last year in a very, very run-based, run-heavy offense last year and an injured Jordan Love. So if you think the Green Bay Packers are going to be able to throw the football a little bit more next year, or this season, I should say, like that's a player that like I'm willing to take a chance on, like 100% for sure. Like we already talked about Cam Ward. Efton Chisholm, man, is a guy too that like all of a sudden for me has started to kind of
deep in the bag.
Yeah, I don't want to say started to pop, but like I think like if we're hanging on to guys, right, like this is a guy that I'm like, okay, like I could see a space where that's actually like a real thing, right? Because with the exception of Diggs and Hunter Henry, there's not really a lot that the Patriots, the running backs obviously offer some things, but if you go back and you look just with Josh McDaniels and again, maybe this is, I think we've seen this last night, the Tom Brady effect and the Bill Belichick effect, but I won't even go down that path. If you look at what Julian Edelman was able to do in 2013 and 2024, he put up wide receiver 2 numbers. It was like 23, wide receiver 23, 20, 26, something in that space. And then from 2016 to 2019, you got into like wide receiver 28. I think we even had like a wide receiver 13 finish as well. But one thing you know about the New England Patriots, especially with Josh McDaniels being there, and again, like just the DNA that's there, they're going to use the slot receiver. And maybe this is a situation where maybe week 1, it's not a thing. Maybe week 2, maybe it's not a thing. But maybe it's week 11 and maybe it's week 12 where we look back and we're like, okay. And he's actually been one of the preseason leaders in receiving yards as well. So that's another thing that like just to keep an eye on, right, is like these rookie players that have been that have had really solid preseason production and preseason performance and have even had a chance to run with the ones. And there's some coaches – you talked about coach speak a little bit earlier. There's some coaches and there's some offensive coordinators. You do pay attention to what they say. And McDaniels, McDaniels and Vrabel and those guys, like there's been nothing but rave reviews. This was back at the beginning of August. Like when we were heading out to Ohio, I was seeing things about Chisholm and people were like, man, like they've done it again. Like they found another slot wide receiver who's 5'10", very shifty, very difficult to cover. Hey man, like might be a thing, you know what I mean? Might be a thing. And then like we talk about guys like, you mentioned we've talked about Dylan Sampson like ad nauseum, like he's a guy that like I would just tell you week 1, going to get ready to play against the Cincinnati Bengals. We already know just as sure as water is wet, the Bengals are going to put the Bengals are going to put up some points, like for sure. I know the Browns have matched up pretty nice with them previously in the last couple of matchups, right? They've matched up pretty well, but again, we don't know what Joe Flacco we're getting. Like same thing with, again, I've said it. I feel dirty leaving drafts with either 2 Browns or 2 Saints. And like maybe it's Cedric Tillman, maybe it's Jerry Jeudy.
Maybe
right?
one of each.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, that's a really bad roster if that's the case, right? Yeah, but like you have like those are a couple of situations for me that like that really pop and just say like, okay, like hey, like if I'm hanging on to these guys for the long haul, like what does that look like? And then there's guys too, man, like, and I'm just again, like I said, like I'm freestyling here. There's guys like Josh Palmer. He's getting drafted, right? But like he's probably not somebody that's going to be in your starting lineup week 1. Again, but he's somebody that like you absolutely could get some run with. There's Dante Thornton in Las Vegas now, who just got mentioned as the star.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm cooking. There's, he just got mentioned as the starting wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders. So like now you have another option, a wide receiver, which the Raiders are probably. I don't think defensively they're going to be very stout. So I think there's definitely a world where they could be having to throw the football a little bit more than advertised. And Thornton's a guy that maybe he did get drafted, maybe he didn't get drafted. So you can go pick him up. We already talked about Eric Amenor from the Tennessee Titans. We talked about him. I'll give you Roman Wilson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you think back to what Aaron Rodgers has done in the past with slot wide receivers, guys that were very shifty and could move very well, Roman Wilson is a guy that, again, like the Steelers have had a lot of positive things to say about him during training camp and during the preseason process. So that's somebody as well that, like, if you wanted to take a flyer on a deep flyer, you absolutely could do that. So I think there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of talent out there. All over the place, a wide receiver and running back, especially the places that really, really matter as far as like your flex positions. And then quarterbacks and tight ends, like those are, we gave you a couple of really good ones here tonight with Cam Ward. There's Elijah Arroyo in Seattle. Like you could make that move for sure. What's the guy's name? Ferguson from the Rams. If you really wanted to kind of just hold on and see how things pan, if you want to hold on to Matthew Stafford and his bad back, you can get in that situation. Chig is a great asset to have. So like I just think, man, there's a ton of players. You just hey, man, like if again, and I'll keep saying this, if you're holding on to 2 defenses, you're holding on to 2 or 3 quarterbacks. Like, don't, especially if you got like one of the top 5 players at that position at quarterback and tight end. Just listen, if your roster, if your roster is in a good enough shape to do it, look at some running backs, look at some wide receivers for sure, man.
Literally though. Yeah, I mean, a few guys that made my list in terms of who I want to talk about. Rashard Smith of the Chiefs, and he's someone that is starting to, for me, feel like a guy that I want to stash across the board. I've been getting a good amount of in best ball. But he's someone I want to see hopefully pop, because Kansas City hasn't had a running back like, we talked about this before. I think Andy Reid hasn't had the running back like a Brian Westbrook or, Deuce Staley, stuff like that, whatever type of running, shiftier running back and catch passes out the backfield in quite some time. Jerick McKinnon was obviously the most recent one. I think the kid Rashard Smith is someone that, again, definitely showcased that he has receiving chops, and can be someone that could potentially, have him find himself a little role, and could potentially really expand later on. So I do like Rashard Smith as someone that he should be stashing across the board. It may not happen week 1 or week 2, but it could happen, like when it starts to, if they're looking for, the Chiefs offense looking for something else in this offense as well. So Rashard Smith, someone is definitely on my radar. Alec Amenor, I've talked about him, as well, especially early on in the offseason where we were talking about, where the landing spots for some, gem spots. And, Amenor came up to mind because, the Stanford tape showcased that he was a dog. And obviously, like, it was, small sample size against Travis Hunter. But, when you showcase against Travis Hunter, a guy that everyone was, like, kind of touting him as, one of these corners, stuff like that. That's what kind of flashed for me. I was like, okay. And Stanford wasn't that good. So they weren't that good at all. So he's someone that was like constantly, along with Ridley, we talked about. But he's someone like Eminor for me that could easily be the wide receiver too in this offense, and could pick up steam. Just got to keep monitoring him week by week from a snap share percentage and whatnot to see if he really solidifies himself as a wide receiver too. Going back to Dante Thornton, someone that definitely showcased a ton of speed. He's 6'4". He's like runs a 4.43. Like something like that.
He's got like, I think there's only a handful of players that have had better like combine, like what do they call measurables in the past like 20, 30 years just overall. So like if it was all about running and jumping, this might be your man right here.
Right. And unfortunately the Raiders have a history of these type of guys too. But at the same time, he's someone that overall Dante Thornton is he's someone that you got to keep on your watch list, and just to see how that impacts things. Because I think Geno is someone that's definitely a guy that we can overall believe that in terms of bringing the offense together, Geno Smith can totally do that. He can definitely support more than one. He can definitely support up to three. And I think Thornton could definitely be that guy. Torrey Horton, another guy we're talking about from Seattle, could be definitely the field stretcher. In terms of speed, you let go of that Scantling, and you let him walk, because there were rumblings that Horton was starting to nip at his heels, and then they made the move. So I think Horton could be someone that again doesn't pop off week one, but someone that is going to be if Darnold was anything decent at QB with this Seattle offensive line right now, like that has reshaped themselves. This could be something where Torrey Horton could pop off. Hopefully not as like a one-off, but hopefully he can be a part of the offense in Seattle, early on. Just again, another name you got to watch out for in terms of that. Will Shipley, guy you have to monitor, right? Because something happens with Barkley. Now, I'm not saying injury-wise. I'm saying from a just snaps perspective, right? Because Barkley ran a ton of they ran Barkley exactly to the ground, but they gave him so many touches. So it could be, the Eagles in general, we kind of talked about this before, where the Eagles can be like, all right, we can now, keep Barkley back a little bit sometimes. And then, Hurts, for more competitive games, Hurts can keep on throwing the football, which is what we've kind of thought of this entire time. Because the Eagles, again, were, they were the last in the NFL in passing attempts last year. And literally A.J. Brown's fourth quarter, it's like, if you see some of that, like he wasn't really used in the fourth quarter. The Eagles would just constantly run the football. So the reason why we got to keep our eyes on Will Shipley is because he is one of those guys that, again, he's obviously one of those, handcuffed running back situations where it's like something happens, Will Shipley can pop right in that situation. And I'm not going to say he's going to be Barkley, but behind this Eagles offensive line, like we've said before in the past, is an offensive line that can stabilize, any good running back. So I do think Will Shipley is someone that is totally and like really alarmed. We got to make sure stash him, somewhere right now. Find the room. Find the room to see
if you got Saquon, yeah.
Especially if you have Saquon.
If you have Barkley, then yeah, like I think like for sure.
Two other guys before just spitting, right? We spitting, we rhyming, baby. Keep going. Ollie Gordon. He's someone that, because he solidified the RB2 role, he's someone that I've been, starting to get a bit more of in best ball to pair up with H-Chan, because obviously I'm an H-Chan guy. And I'm saying in general, I'm not concerned about H-Chan in general, but I will say that Ollie Gordon is a talent and something that I'll admit I missed in my draft process because I didn't go back 2 years. Ollie Gordon was the Doak Walker Award winner when he was at Oklahoma State 2 years ago, and he put up monster numbers. He had over 1,700 yards rushing and 21 rushing touchdowns. So look, like again, I think H-Chan's fine, but this is a good thing if Ollie Gordon can establish himself as an RB2, because back when H-Chan was a rookie, like you still have Raheem Mostert, right? So I think both guys can definitely eat. in terms of his Miami backfield if it goes that way. So he's someone that I'm like, for me, because like, I just like, I like Achan. If something were to happen though, like, look, I have Ollie Gordon maybe. So I am a little bit more excited about both of these guys in general. And then I will say the last guy is someone that I was on, in general throughout the offseason, scaled off a little bit, got right back on Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue, if he's out there for your rosters, he's someone that I would prioritize as well. I know Dallas, named Javonte Williams, and then Miles Sanders not hurt, whatever. I still think Jaden Blue has the best odds to taking over this backfield, like somewhere down the line. Because I don't mind Javonte Williams. It's just he just really left like an underwhelming taste in our mouths last year because he couldn't, for whatever reason, can't break out of this Denver offense that was having so much success. Like this offense was having a lot of success. And I know Sean Payton was splitting his backfields and stuff like that, whatever, but it was still like annoying that Javonte Williams couldn't even get a piece of that offense and be, somewhat productive with his touches. So yes, new situation. Sometimes that, that can be good things. And I'm not, completely out on Javonte Williams. I'm just not drafting him. And I'm drafting Jaden Blue, hopefully the guy that will take over later on in the year. So again, favorite stashes, people we're talking about, players in general that we love, we talked about throughout the whole offseason. So get at us for sure. And Jobo, my guy, we're friends right now, but enemies starting Thursday.
Love it. Love it.
That's what, you got to tell, hey, we're boys. Yeah. Until Thursday night.
Yeah.
But that being said, do you have any final thoughts, John? Hey.
No, man, I don't have any final thoughts. It's just we put in all the work off season.
Literally.
Teams, players, props, futures, right? Best ball. All of it's all here now, man. So for the next 17 weeks, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get us going over these things every 17 weeks, talking about it. And that's what it's gonna be. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty excited just for this season. And me and Nick, we got a couple of leagues we're in together. So I'm pretty sure you guys will be hearing about that for sure. You guys will either be, hearing about, why I got really lucky, or either hearing about how great Nick's team is, or either about some type of hijack heist that he pulled off, like dead presidents or something. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Bring him
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm super excited for sure. I'm super excited, and I think like just for me, things that like I did not have on my list in the off season was, I ended up being on a podcast with Bob Long and obviously the great Joe Frick, and Bradley from Fantasy Advice Network, and then obviously. Just last week, did not have that on the books as well. And then, during the off season, like the podcast, like with Coop, right? So just a lot of things. And then even just kind of looking at, the people that have tuned in tonight, man, just kind of from like where we started last year, really in this space with like, 40 people now to, almost 500 people. It's pretty dope, man. And, definitely appreciate the love, and, we're going to keep trying to do our best to bring you guys fire content and great shit. And, let us know how we can continue to keep getting better at what you guys love or what you guys want to see. Like we're all in for it. So I'm just excited about this year, man. Overall, couldn't be more happy and excited to be going into, year 2 of doing this here. And yeah, man, let's see what it brings, bro.
Yeah, man. Totally. I couldn't have said that better myself. So thank you for saying that, because definitely the growth we've experienced, the people we connect with and network with, and the people that we call, our homies, too, like, is honest. Like, honestly, it's really like eye-opening because it's like, we, people do their own shows, people do this, or, they overall help out a hand. They tell you, hey, this is what you should be doing or whatever. So it's definitely a shout out to all the people that have told us, about our work, about our tag team. And
and the podathon too. The podathon, bro. I'm just
podathon, yep.
Yeah, the podathon, man. Like Scott Fishbowl podathon. Didn't have that in the freaking bingo cards, man.
So yeah, it's definitely kudos to everybody out there that always keeps on supporting us every week. And we love y'all. So that being said, Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Your props, your bets, your starts and sits, along with your DFS. And any questions that you have, bring them. 10:30 a.m. Eastern, right here. And we're going to break it down for y'all. So we're really excited for, obviously, Thursday night, obviously, because that'll be the first game of the actual NFL season. There's a Friday game. Like, we're excited about that, too. There's college football Saturday. And we're right back on Sunday.
So. Wait. If you got people in your flex positions Thursday and Friday, take them out.
Seriously,
take them out. Like go back and just do yourself a solid and just like don't start off the season like that, because like that's the worst thing you can do is start off week 1 with an easy fix. So just go back and take a look, man. Like, totally. Please do that for me.
Totally. If you ain't following us on X, heck you doing, bro?
Get your life together.
Please do so. Please like the show. Please share the show. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Because it's free, people. It's free to do.
Free 99.
Free. It's not negative. It's free.
Free,
it's not negative dollars. See what I'm saying? It's free. So tell somebody that you love. Until then, we'll see you guys Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We out. Peace.